Hey mi gente, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? How are you today? Joe J. Perton from Mona, Ecuador, sitting next to the one and only Frank Mouche. Mouche, correct? I want to make sure I pronounce it properly. Frank is the builder of the home we're standing in right now, or sitting in actually. There are 8 properties altogether, 4 of which have been standing since 2016, so a total of 7 years, and 4 that are in the gray stages right now. The first of which is nearest completion and are for sale. I'm here to ask Frank a few questions and get him on camera because there's nobody better to introduce these properties than he himself, the one who built them and who lives in them. So Frank, hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for welcoming us, for your hospitality here in your home.
You're welcome. It's good to have you here, and I appreciate your taking the effort to getting a little bit more about Pacific Breeze in Santa Marianita.
That's the name of the game here today, Pacific Breeze, Santa Marianita. So Frank, before we get into anything about the actual property, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story of what brought you to Ecuador in the first place, what inspired you to invest here and to eventually end up living here?
Yeah, good questions. Well, I have a little bit of a nomad history. I was originally born in the Netherlands and lived in a variety of countries such as Germany, Hong Kong, California, but ended up many years in Canada. Now, for those who are from there, know that winter is absolutely brutal.
Cold.
It is -44. It doesn't matter if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. It is cold. And it's 6 months of the year. So I did that for many, many years. So I came, started to look at, my near retirement and figured, this is enough. I don't want to shovel any more snow. This is the end of that. So my wife and I then went on a search. We went to Costa Rica. And we went to Belize. We went to, looked a little bit at Mexico, but, and there were pros and cons in those countries. But, Costa Rica, was already getting priced out of the market. Belize, well, you're in the Caribbean. It's beautiful, but hurricanes.
Okay.
And so then somebody was telling me about Ecuador, and I made a trip about 15 years ago. Ended up in Guayaquil and drove along the coast to Salinas and ended up in Ayampe.
Beautiful.
And it's nice, but I thought, this is probably a nice area to build something interesting. Until a lady that owns a little pizza place there said, I have to get up early tomorrow morning because I have to go shopping. He said, why you have to get up early? Well, I have to go to Salinas. That's an hour and a half.
Okay.
So I figured, no. And on top of that, there's no medical facilities, nothing.
Okay.
So I went back home and then did a little bit more research. Then I planned a secondary trip with my son. We flew from Quito to way north.
Cuenca.
No, to way north here at the Esmeraldas.
Yeah, okay.
And rented a car there and then worked our way, and the end result was Manta. And then I thought, whoa, everything is here. Hospitals, doctors, good shopping. And then I started driving around and ended up in Santa Marianita.
Okay.
And I figured, wow. Then people started telling me also that the water of the beach in Manta is not so nice because there's a lot of, black water that ends up in the ocean. So it's not a pleasant swim. Here, it's clean. It's beautiful. You're on the beach. It's quiet during the week. It's absolutely fantastic. And the view, spectacular. On a good day, you almost can Galapagos. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's why we chose the rooftop as our setting for this interview, because of the absolutely stunning views. Okay, so thanks for that history. That was very
And then, of course, when I looked around for property and I found this spot and that, how much closer to the beach can I get? And
without
this is about
actually
as close to you
on
as you get, right? So that's why I choose this particular location.
Okay, muy bien. And deciding to actually live here full time?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to go back to Canada to visit in the summer. Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough. I can relate. Coming from a little less high up, north New York. My winters were brutal.
Yeah.
And I couldn't handle the snow. I was over it by the time I turned 35. But anyway, okay. Well, that brings us to Pacific Breeze. You've toured me around the property several times. We have a couple of videos out now that have already touched upon what separates it from other construction in the area, other construction in Ecuador, really. Why don't you give us some insight into the materials you brought down, your style of construction, your way of thinking, and what separates you from the rest?
When I started looking at the research that I did on local contractors and what they use, I was very disillusioned about their method of construction, because a lot of them use your typical really inexpensive cement block.
Yep.
And I actually ended up having, I bought originally a condo in Manta, and at 6 o'clock you could not stand the heat inside because it's not insulated.
It was cooking all day.
Absolutely disgusting.
Okay.
So I started looking around, and I did some further research and found a company in Quito that had the license from an Italian company, and it's the company called Hormi Dos.
We've heard of them.
And what they do is they build with styrofoam. And it sounds peculiar, but the method they use, excuse me, so they make panels of styrofoam in any length, and they basically put galvanized chicken wire on both sides of those panels, and then galvanized pins go through the styrofoam, and they're being spot welded onto.
Wow.
You'd be amazed. You can put a sheet like that on the span of 20 feet, and yeah, it will bend, but it won't break.
Wow.
It's very strong.
Okay.
And so everything you see here inside these walls is all styrofoam.
Okay.
Once those are done, then you have, I have a machine that's a cement pump, and you spray the first layer of cement, which then adheres to the chicken wire.
Right.
And then once that's dried up, you put the second and finishing coat on it. So you end up about, 5-6 centimeters of cement on either side of those panels.
Okay.
And that's how the walls are constructed. So there's no steel in this building whatsoever.
Wow.
So that's how this building was built, and it withstood the earthquake.
Yep.
I mean, I was already in gray state, and then the earthquake happened, 7.8 on the Richter scale.
Yep.
It made a big mess in Manta.
We know.
As a matter of fact, my condo was basically destroyed.
Yep.
And the other thing was, of course, the engineering was not up to speed, because the emergency stairs from the 4th floor down had disappeared and were on top of cars in the basement. So another reason not to work with cement block and things like that.
Right.
So when this is all finished, then I started the next building, and the method there is a little bit different, because one thing that what people were asking me when they look at these locations, can we put a jacuzzi on the terrace? Here, that's not possible, because there's no steel structural in this building. So I decided on the next building to change my method slightly, put up a huge and very strong steel structural on that building, and now it's designed that you can have a jacuzzi on your terrace.
Very cool, which is really what matters here, because those are the 4 in question. Those are the 4 that are actually for sale.
Correct. So there the method's a little bit different. In those I use actually SIP panels, as they are called in the United States and Canada. Here they call them, they're known as MGO panels. It's a magnesium sulfide material, and and they sent with styrofoam in between the two panels.
Yes.
And so the outside walls are 20 centimeters or 9 inches. And what takes place is insulation.
Right.
The temperature difference coming from outside to go inside is incredible.
Drastic.
It's drastic.
Yeah, I remember feeling it. I've said this in past video, I'll say it again. When Frank took me on a tour of the property in the gray stage, no windows installed, no doors installed, everything was wide open, and it was a day like today, the sun was beating down, it was nice and hot. We stepped inside the foyer, one step into the property, and mind you, no doors, and I felt a 10-degree drop.
Yeah.
Immediate, refreshing, and no air conditioners on, nothing. It was just it was the insulation and nothing more that was doing that.
And a matter of fact, you know, so with the steel and those MGO panels, again, you still have the same benefit as we have in this building, and more.
Okay. What about tell me a little bit more about the eco-friendliness of your construction.
So the other thing that, you know, is really important is here the country is very difficult when it comes to installing proper water, proper sewer, proper electricity, and all those things.
Right.
They're pretty challenged. So I had to research, all right, what do we do with black water? Because it happens.
Right. And you're not dumping it in the ocean.
No, we don't want to do that.
Right.
So I did some research and found a ISO approved system from Germany.
Now, what is ISO?
Well, the ISO standard, it's worldwide. They have ISO standards for a lot of things. So I don't know what the acronym stands for. I'm sorry, we have to research
that. But it's the standard setter.
It's a worldwide standard about a lot of things.
Okay.
So the black water here from your kitchen sink, your toilets, go into a triple tank system. And once that takes place, there's a bacterial process that eats the solids. Once that larger tank fills, it goes to a secondary tank, and that's just liquids.
Yeah.
And that fills, goes to the third tank. At that time, that water or that liquid is pretty well clear.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And so that water, if it fills up, it goes to another holding tank on the front, which is also part of the retaining wall on this property. And it fits 30,000 liters of water. And that is used for irrigation.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Totally recycling.
Correct.
You know.
Now, the water from
sustainability.
your shower and from your washing machine goes actually in a different area in the center, and that's immediately pumped through a computerized system that the tubing is underneath the grass, and it moistens the ground.
Also
underneath
irrigation.
the grass. And it's also the irrigation.
Amazing.
So all the water here is
being reutilized and recycled onto the property. And we'll show some photos and we'll show some clips of all the green areas of the property. They're pretty expansive. So a little bit more about the sustainable features that you've built into these properties. I noticed not solar panels, but solar tubing.
Yeah, so electricity here is a little bit of a challenge, but surprisingly also expensive.
Yeah.
And I mean, hot water or warm water is always nice to use for your washing your dishes and showering and things like that. So I decided to put on the roof, which we always have sunshine, solar water units. And those are 30 glass tubes. They're double walls. And I have always hot water, even on a cloudy day or 2 cloudy days. So hot water is not an issue. But the electrical savings is enormous.
I imagine.
You know, because the water heaters are sucking 220 volts, and to use those back home, you're using typically gas furnaces or gas water tanks on propane, or on natural gas. But here, electricity, and the meter starts definitely flowing.
For sure. I can attest to that.
That's one of the things as well is to make sure we have that. The other thing is, one of the nice features that I do when I started the construction, I finish off only in gray stage, which means that I don't decide what tile goes on the floor. I don't decide what color paint goes on the walls. I do not decide what granite goes on the counters in your kitchen.
You leave that all to the new buyer.
Absolutely. We work together and we have a budget that we can spend, and the buyer decides how they like their living space. I don't live there.
Amazing.
You know, I mean, and it's a little bit more time consuming, but the end result is much more in favor of the people that are going to live in their own house, because it has their own touches to it.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So the kitchen counter, the kitchen cabinets, the kitchen island has a choice. If you like to cook with gas, not a problem. I have already the tubing in the floor where the gas line goes out to the balcony. That's where the gas tank goes, not inside the kitchen like they do everywhere here in Ecuador.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I can attest to that.
Normally, this dangerous. It's crazy.
I remember when I moved into a building. I won't name the building in Manta. Our first, my first property that I rented, and I found the gas tank, an enormous gas tank, right under the kitchen sink, and then the stove right here. I said to myself, "That's normal? That doesn't seem normal, but it's normal."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to use inductive, that's fine. I mean, the electrical is there, and little things. A typical constructor in Ecuador, there may be one plug-in or two, and you see extension cords everywhere.
Exactly.
I have installed, even in the master bedroom, there's 4 plugins possibilities.
Yeah.
So you don't find that. And those seems like insignificant little things, but once you live there, you go, oh, why is there no plug-in here, right?
I know, trust me, I know.
It's there. I mean, same as in the kitchen, there's lots of plugins.
Fun.
And so the other thing that I found, I mean, I already also stayed in a few B&Bs when I came to visit here, and I saw the electrical breaker box in the living room, and they hide it with a painting.
In my house, it's in the bathroom. It's in the social bathroom on the first floor.
Well, it's a little bit better. So I decided.
But there's no plug. There's no outlet in my social bathroom. So if I want to do any kind of work in my social bathroom, I have to run an extension cord. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So anyhow, here there's one panel that's at the front door, and that will be in a nice wooden box, camouflaged, and then there's a secondary panel on the second floor in the bodega, in the storage room. So, again, lots of breakers, lots of, safety and
safety, comfort.
Correct. The other thing what I found really interesting is when I started building this particular unit, I had hired an electrician, and I do an inspection, and I noticed he was running a red cable and a white cable and a green cable, and then it changed colors, and I go, what are you doing? They have no clue about standards. Right. So here in my place is that there's black, there's white, there's green.
Exactly.
And when there's a 3-way switch, yes, I may then add a red or a different color just to indicate that's a 3-way switch. So again, I'm very fussy when it comes to keeping the standards of North America, incorporated into this construction.
Great. Okay.
Right.
Very important. Muy importante.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the local, Santa Marianita, this ubicación, this location. You've been here long enough now where you can tell us about, the projection, how it's been growing over the past several years, and why don't you give us a little insight as to what you and maybe others, who you've spoken to, other expats who've been living here, investing here, where you guys think it's headed?
I've been here now 8 years, and in the 8 years that I've been here, there's been at least 50 to 60 houses have been built since.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see on the other side and behind me, I could see for a long way, and there was just bare field. There's big houses.
Yep.
along the Malacan, further down, that was all clear land. There was one house. That was actually the donkey den, the little B&B.
Oh, shit.
There was nothing else.
That's funny.
Right? Now, it's full.
There's nothing available.
I think there's one lot for sale, and there's one house being built on there, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, up on the hill, there's a subdivision, which I'm not fond of it, but because there's a lot of concrete happening there, a lot of stones. It's not pretty, but people building houses there, and it goes all the way up the hill. I mean, lots of houses have been built there.
Talking about Bonita Beach, I think.
Right. Yeah. Then further down, if you go on the road or via the beach, you can walk it, but it's also called Playa Alta, and there's a lot of construction going on. So I think slowly from Playa Alta into Santa Marianita, that will fill up. Yeah. There's a sandy road there. Yeah. I think there's a lot of land that there's still some land available.
And I mean, back behind here, nothing but available.
Absolutely.
But which is getting purchased, you know, left and right.
Correct.
As we speak.
Right.
I remember just a little bit on that, my own personal anecdotal story. When I first arrived here in 2017, and Ambar took me around, she took me to Jaramijo first. And we were in the Bay Area there, the marina there. We saw some industrial stuff, some commercialized stuff. And just the beauty of the way it's got that cove sort of look and feel. And I said, man, this is the next Manta. I was only here for a week. And she goes, no, this and that, it's not going to happen. If that happens, it's going to be 50 years from now. And I said, all right, well, I mean, they've got to go somewhere because Manta's going to get filled up.
Right.
They've got to end up somewhere, and it's going to be the next city over, likely. Then the next week, she took me to Santa Marianita, and I said, oh, yeah, okay. No, this is where they're coming, for sure. And yeah, I mean, just like you said, in recent years, I've seen so many, just vacant lands that were not for sale go up for sale, get purchased, and the buildings are done and they're lived in already. Right. And that's in the past 2 to 3 years.
So there's two kinds of expats or foreigners that move here. So I have, for example, two owners of on this building. They live in Canada. They only move here twice a year for maybe a month at a time, not even that sometimes. Or there's the expat that is going to live here full time. Right. So for those who are interested, I mean, the prices have gone crazy. I mean, the land prices have gone up, and that's only going to go continuing up because Manta is so close. Right. And Manta, now that the airport is an international hub, with flights to Panama, to flights to Bogota, directly from Manta, which before was not possible. You had to go to Guayaquil or to Quito. Right. Now you have, from here to the airport is a half an hour. Exactly. And so, so once you're in Bogota or once you're in Panama, you can go anywhere. Exactly. Because that's an international hub that goes anywhere. I think the number of connections when they opened up was like 75 other countries out of Panama. Wow. Yeah, that was when they started in June. So who knows what that's changed. So, which also means that this could be a destination area for vacationers. Could be. We have 3 kite surfing schools here. And you can see kites right now. Yep. And a little bit of wind. It's a nice breeze. That's why it's called the Pacific breeze. There you go. And the kites are spectacular. Oh, yeah. And for those who like that, it's phenomenal. The amount of inquiries I get that people want to rent for short term is enormous. Long term, also, of course, is a good investment because people could, put in the basic furniture into their place. If they're not intending to live here full time, but want to use it as a vacation, place to go to, then renting it out is another, component that you can, make some money on. Exactly, and maybe have a long-term plan for eventual retirement, down the line. So, that's correct. A middle-aged couple or a young couple with, kids who are maybe
still in school or just about to finish college, that, you know, purchasing something in South America for a place that they can vacation to twice a year, send the kids to once in a while,
Exactly.
and then rent out the rest of the time, and then, you know, watch it appreciate over the next decade or so, and then decide whether they want to move in, sell it at that point. You know, there's the sky is the limit. But, you know, the reason I'm bringing these things up is because this is the type of clientele we speak to,
right?
You know, who are asking these types of questions with these sorts of intentions. So yes, we see that Santa Marianita is not just a weekend vacation spot. It's got all sorts of you know, possibilities. All right, Frank, thank you very much. That was extremely interesting. I would like to end with your personal experience as an expat. Why don't you tell our viewers, you know, about the necessities and the comforts of living here in Santa Marianita?
Right. So, first of all, when people move here, either from Canada, the United States, Europe, and in all the different countries have different levels of healthcare and insurances and all those kind of things. So, insurance here, yes, is available. There are good hospitals here. Good specialists are available, but I would definitely recommend that you need to go to Quito. There are some phenomenal hospitals there. Personally, I had an incident a couple of years ago that I had some fluid that developed on the brain, and locally here that, you know, there's no neurologist that I would, you know, would have been capable, but I went to Quito, and it's a state-of-the-art hospital. Great. That, you know, helped me out, and I lost the use of my right hand. I lost proper speech development, wow. So it was pretty critical. So,
well, clearly I
think I'm doing better.
You're doing all right. I've understood everything, and you're moving that hand quite well. So.
But it was pretty scary. I mean, luckily I had a good friend. We drove to Quito, and the next morning I was on the operating table, and wow. 2 days later, you know, I was back to normal. It was phenomenal.
And this was covered under insurance, or?
I don't have insurance. I have insurance in Canada.
Ah, okay.
I paid for this out of my own pocket.
Okay.
And if you do that, in Canada, you can write that off from your income tax.
Oh, wow.
It's a medical expense in a foreign country.
Oh, wow.
So depending where you're coming from, you may want to look into these kind of things. But yes, insurance is here. There's good dentists here. General practice doctors are here in Manta, yep. without any problem. There are some specialties as well. I think they have, you know, a decent plastic surgeon here, very reasonable.
Yeah.
The dentist here is great. He studied in the United States, and he does, you know, implants and everything at probably a quarter of the price that you would be paying at home.
Yeah.
So, even me paying what I had to go through was $10,000, which right. is peanuts, yeah. in comparison than you would have to pay that in the United States.
I'm well aware.
You would probably pay $50,000, $60,000,
if not more,
at the minimum.
Right, exactly.
So, the other thing that it really has, the people here are really, if you get to know the Ecuadorian people, it's a different attitude.
Different
but
culture,
they're nice, sure. They're patient in most cases. Mañana is a favorite word here. You know, I mean, you cannot expect that if you say 3 o'clock that they're going to be here at 3 o'clock. Maybe tomorrow at 3 o'clock. No, I'm just kidding. You have to get used to that pace.
Yeah.
And so don't be in a rush.
Yeah.
You're not, you know, back home, everything goes like,
you know, instant gratification or nothing at all. Right.
Here, no, take your time.
Yeah.
Now, when I lived in Manta, there were maybe 3-4 restaurants within walking distance where I lived. I think now there's 15.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the building you're talking about.
Babasquillo is the street.
Yeah, they call it Restaurant Row. There's about 40 restaurants now if you count the side streets.
Unbelievable.
And they're all
I know, they're all good.
Between a 7 or a 10.
Right.
Really good.
Now here in Santa Marianita, we have the cabañas. They're open at lunch, and they're open till about 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yep.
They're okay. The menu is all the same, which is kind of interesting.
It's fun.
But lately we have had, 3 nice restaurants
Opening up.
being added here.
Fish cevicheria.
One is the
South
fish,
Indian.
the, South Indian, and even the kitchen in the hotel of a Kite Surf.
Kite surf. Yes, they're very good.
Very good kitchen.
High end.
Okay.
They were there before the other two.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
And if you want vegan, then you go to Ocean
Freaks.
And
And they've got a pretty good ceviche too.
Yeah. So I mean, lots of things here.
Yep.
Now the other cute thing is, because of all the restaurants here, you see frequently the vegetable trucks. You can get a pineapple for $1.
Oh, for sure.
You can get 5 avocados for $1.
Yep.
You get 10 mangoes for $3.
Right.
I mean,
I've been sold bags of 40 limes for $1.
For $1. Yeah.
And when it's in season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they come by here. I mean, you don't have to go to Manta to buy a vegetable. There are little stores in the town.
Yep.
There's a bakery. There's your, there's
Tiendas.
beer and
Yeah,
things like that. But if you want to go a little bit more high end, there's a phenomenal grocery store in Manta called Mega Maxi.
Oh, yeah.
They basically have everything.
For sure.
And I'm so proud of them because being from Holland, of course, I like my cheese. They have Dutch cheese in there.
Yeah, they have good cheeses. They do have a wide selection.
Unbelievable,
Yep.
right? Even stroopwafel. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I don't know what that is. No, stroopwafel.
Well, it's a Dutch delicacy. It's a round little cake with...
I think you gave me one when I was in your...
You tasted one.
It was
They
good.
have them. I couldn't believe it. So anyhow, so you can have everything that you really desire is here.
Yeah.
Year round.
Yeah.
If you want strawberries, they're here.
Oh, for sure.
And
Blueberries, strawberries,
the
pineapple,
blueberries
mango,
are
papaya.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so those are the strong benefits of living, in a climate where it's no snow and no frost.
And pretty stable all year round.
Exactly. The other thing, of course, is the currency here.
The US dollar.
US dollars. So it's really easy. You can use your debit card in the ATM machine and get cash.
No exchange rates, no math at purchase at the cashier.
Exactly.
I've experienced that in other countries like Costa Rica and whatnot. That was always a pain in the neck.
Right. And most of the bigger stores, no problem with paying with credit card.
Right.
Okay. So in the little tiendas, they don't
cash.
accept credit card.
You can do a transfer if you have a
Correct.
Ecuadorian bank. They'll accept transfers.
Correct, but credit cards are only in the bigger stores.
Right.
They're set up for that process.
Right.
So everything is very convenient.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to go out of your way to again do the exchange rates and all those kinds.
And the
of things.
overall cost of living is just
It's a lot less, of course. Of course.
It's a no-brainer.
Food-wise, but you spend easily $100 at Mega Maxi if you buy a couple of bottles of wine included.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But you get good quality.
Yeah.
So everything is definitely up to par. You know that it's a healthy product, and so on the vegetables, you make sure you wash them properly, and that's about it.
Wash your vegetables. That's
wash
it.
your vegetables.
We're going to end with wash your vegetables. No, thank you very much, Frank. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Good to have you.
Thanks. Welcome to Santa Marianita.
Welcome to Santa Marianita. We'll see you soon.